Good evening and welcome to Nightfall in Amsterdam. Tonight we are joining a pair of guru as they go to speak to a spirit. In particular, the spirit that they've commonly come to know as the Jarl, but which they've also been told is also the spirit Odin, the original spirit that inspired mortals to believe in Odin as a god. To that end, Bosco has a lead on where to find Odin. He's been there before. But I don't know if they are meeting up there or meeting elsewhere and then traveling. So I will leave that to them to intro themselves and we will go from there.
Bosco would probably want to meet on the steps so they can go there together just in case weird shit happens.
That seems to make sense to me, considering Bosco knows exactly where they're going, and Air has not a clue other than that it's a gym, or if I recall correctly. So yeah, I suppose Air will hunt Bosco down to meet up with him.
He's not terribly hard to find, given a lot of people needed to talk to him in the last week. He's kind of set up a chair and a spot of the set. But yeah, he'll just kind of be sitting on his chair, reading the same book that he was reading when Air came to speak to him earlier.
Still at it, I see,
It's his very long book.
I mean, you should always take your time with good things, right?
No. Thought you were wishing to go speak to our mutual friend.
Yes.
He'll nod. He'll put his bookmark in the book, place it on the chair, get up, and hope to God that nobody disrupts this little spot. The last time
Do you want to put your chair and your book away?
I will trust our fitmates to not disturb my equilibrium. And if that trust is misplaced, it will be a learning experience.
Fair enough. We'll definitely learn.
He'll look at him and say, the last time I went there was through the Umbra. I believe it might be best to go through that way again.
All right. Let's do it then. The gauntlet's what, 4?
Yes.
This could be interesting. All right.
So what is the gauntlet?
Do you have the...
Okay, right.
4.
We should probably have a dice roller up, huh?
Yeah. Oh, hey, good.
Okay, cool. The Buster takes a little longer than Air does, but that makes sense because she's a fairy.
Right? She's eases on through the gauntlet and waits. Well, you know where we're going.
Bosco will nod and start making his way to the gym in the Umbra.
Air will stay close and stick with him, following.
All right. It's a relatively smooth journey.
Well, that's good. No spirit harassment along the way, I presume.
No, it's pretty mellow. There's a lot of spiritual activity earlier in the week, though, so it's possible that they are rejuvenating their energies.
Oh, good, good. No shenanigans to worry about then. Here kind of eyes up the place in the Umbra.
It's a couple-story building, but you can see the let me try to say this. It's one of the few buildings that doesn't seem to be very covered in webs, like much of the city is.
Okay.
Older natural stone, but the and Tiger, it looks pretty much exactly like when Bosco was here last time, and you can see the stairwell leading down where you know the gym is below.
Bosco will nod his head towards the stairwell and say, "Down there. That is where, well, we don't talk about what goes on down there."
Right. We don't talk about that.
He'll start.
You're kind of
He'll start heading down the stairway. Sorry, my dog distracted me.
All right. No, that's okay. Air will follow him down the stairway and keep her ears open for anything.
The lower you get, you can hear sounds of conflict. And he among the sounds you can hear sounds of fairly solid impacts.
Air's kind of smirking as she follows.
Yep, he'll continue heading on down.
Yep.
You guys get to the bottom, and you can see, even on this side, you see a number of ancestor spirits that seem to be brawling fairly aggressively.
Okay.
The It looks like a pretty typical gym. Mats on the floors. You will notice it's kind of more rustic, like wood paneling and stuff. It's in a basement, so it's not real fancy.
Okay.
Um, a couple of these spirits will eventually kind of acknowledge you, but they do not cease their fighting.
Bosco will kind of give a respectful nod to the spirits, like all of them, not just the ones who acknowledge them. But he'll kind
All
of look
right.
around, see if he can see the Jarl or Odin.
You actually do not
Yeah,
see him
everything's kind of
among the
dancing
group.
on key. Hmm.
As you watch, the ancestor spirits kind of seem to wrap up their fight. You notice that some of them have taken some pretty brutal wounds, and they start to trudge upstairs.
The way that we
Bosco,
came in.
Right.
Okay.
oh, quirk an eyebrow. Should we follow?
As you guys kind of start to head up with them, and one of them says, "If you're looking for the Wanderer, he's upstairs. Generally, this time of evening, he's probably 3 bottles of wine deep and telling tales."
That sounds fun.
Thank you.
Shall we go listen to some of his tales, Bosco?
Sounds good to me.
In the
She'll, go ahead.
excuse me, the first floor is a fairly typical tavern. Um, on this side, it's a little less typical, given it's a group of spirits drinking.
Okay.
But very rustic inside. You see the bare stone, a lot of wooden beams exposed. Fire going.
Air kind of like looks over at Bosco. I like this place already.
I can respect it. Simplicity kind of has its own method.
The barkeep looks at you. and says, "Something I can do for you folks?" Seem to have wandered into a. You don't look like you're part of the usual crew. And one of the regular patrons who'd already been on one of the bar stools comes down. He's got a mug of ale in his hand. And he squints at you guys and looks back and forth. He goes, "When's the last time one of you died in training?" And he looks at Bosco and he says, "I'll bet it was you."
Neither of us died yet.
He raised an eyebrow and turns
Correct.
around and says, "We got us a couple greenhorns." They come into the hall right after training lets out, and they didn't even finish the job.
Oh no. Oh no.
Well, we might be green compared to you, though, but we're still formidable. We still have had many fights.
He leans in close and goes, "That's right. I got fights every night. And I only die in one of 4 of them."
It is funny. I have fights every night as well, and I die 0 times in all of them.
He kind of squints at you like he's trying to tell if you're playing a prank on him. And he throws back his head and laughs and says, what in hell's name? Why not? Might as well get the rookies a couple drinks." And then he turns and grins and says, "Better start the big one with some soft stuff. We wouldn't want to kill him for the first time." Barkeep comes over and he goes, "Don't mind him. He says he only dies 1 in 4 times, but I'm pretty sure he gets his skull crushed every time. And it's starting to show."
Oh, I think I see a bit of the grandmother leaking out his nose.
Ouch.
And the bartender chuckles and says, "I would assume he had one."
Hi.
Bosco kind of chuckle at that. So I hate to interrupt festivities, but we're looking for the Wanderer.
And it gets kind of quiet in the tavern. They look back and forth and go, "They come to talk to the Wanderer on story nights. You know, they're going to get wisdom, madness, or death. Guess it depends how it goes for them." He's on the other side, though. Probably trying to talk some fool mortal into doing something stupid, dying his first time, and ending up over here.
Should we see what he's telling that mortal?
Let's take a look across first before we go dipping through.
Yep. What's the gauntlet?
It will be 4 here.
Okay. for peaky purposes.
Peeky peeky.
Air is going. Why don't you look one way and I look the other? She's gonna look opposite whatever way Bosco is, just
Bosco ain't
because.
looking at shit because I failed.
Apparently.
He's busy squinting at the mug the bartender just handed him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, probably.
Well, don't worry. I only have 5 successes. It's all
Oh,
my
man.
dice.
So on the other side, it is a almost like a biker bar. And dimly lit, little rougher crowd. You can see a gentleman sitting, and he's in like a cut off sleeve or a sleeveless hoodie, and he's sitting at the bar with a mug telling stories. And there's a fairly decent crowd, probably between a half dozen and 9 or so people that are paying attention intermittently. So it's not packed, but he's got a little bit of an audience right now.
Okay. Can I see where there might be a restroom sign or something?
There seems to be one in kind of like a back corner of the bar.
Okay. Specifically, I mean, I guess we could go find the regular entrance too. But she's gonna stop peeking, and she's going to look and see how Bosco is dressed because Silver Fang. She kind of eyeballs him.
I'll look back at her. What?
It's a biker bar.
I'll look down at how he's dressed and shrug. Let them try and start something. The scar on my face and my size should scare them off, and if it doesn't, then they will learn very quickly why you do not fuck with a crystal.
All right. Well, we can either go in the regular entrance, or there's bathrooms, and she'll point off like down that way. But considering we weren't in there before, they'll likely be like, "How the heck did you get in here?" There's only like 9 people in the bar, plus him.
It is up to you. They're probably drunk, so they more than likely will not notice some people coming out of the bar, although I may attract some attention.
Going in the normal entrance might be our best bet. No need to grab unnecessary attention, drunk or not. There's always some asshole that notices.
This is fair. So, Bosco will down the drink that was given to him by the bartender.
And it seems to be a fairly mild vodka with kind of a licorice flavor.
He'll toss a gnosis. The bartender's a spirit, right?
Correct.
Yeah, he'll toss a gnosis to the bartender. Thank you.
Thanks for your help.
The bartender just kind of nods it, and the spirit who is kind of teasing you says, you can thank him after you get killed."
As many times as you?
He looks and says, "You got some catching up to do."
It's going to take a long time from what I understand.
Here he
Good luck.
looks at you and says, "Oh, no, that's as long as you think. You gotta go. Something tells me your success rate last is a little lower than mine."
Well, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, looks and says, "That doesn't mean you've won either."
No, but I'm more ahead of the game than you are at this point.
He laughs and looks around and says,
She's obviously being good-natured about this, by the way.
"I don't know. I get to fight every day. I win 3 out of 4, and I drink every night."
She just kind of looks at the bartender and she's like, didn't he say 1 out of 4 before? Now it's suddenly 3 out of 4.
3
The
out of
number
4.
just keeps jumping.
3 out of 4 is what he wins. He dies 1 out of 4 times.
Okay. This is okay. So Holly's brain just misinterpreted that. All right. Okay. If you say so. She recalls what the bartender had said.
Yeah. Bartender gestures. He says, "Steam room in the back a lot of times is a good quick route."
Take you through a normal door on the other side.
Yeah, that's the route the Wanderer uses. Less obvious when
All right.
you just come walking in.
It's true. She kind of looks at Bosco. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's the back door.
Yeah.
Bosco will follow.
She'll look at the bartender. Thank you. And she'll look at the spirit giving him shit. Hey, good luck. Keep up the streak.
Yeah. Laughs, and one of the other ones says, "For him to get streaks, he'd have to be wearing something."
Oh. I did not need to know that. That she heads for the back door.
Then the one turns around and hits the other one over the head with his mug, and as you guys head out.
All right, I'm going to peek one more time at this door just to make sure nobody else is using it before they pop through.
No, it seems to be pretty much a dedicated door. Like, it's marked on the other side as a emergency exit only, or a staff only type thing, like a VIP entrance.
Whoops. Okay. Ready for this, Bosco?
We should probably roll to fucking do it, huh?
She's gonna let him go first.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna spend a willpower this time because I don't want to get stuck.
No sense of adventure.
Didn't even meet. Still, I got 4 successes total.
Nice. I got 4 as well.
Alright, so you guys both get through just fine. And like I said, this side's got a it's more of a biker bar, not really run down, but it's not fancy in any way. And
Okay.
you guys will recognize the one known as the Jarl, um, where he is
Okay.
currently sitting, um, drinking out of a pitcher, like a cheap plastic pitcher. He will.
He's got a thirst. Mighty thirst.
He nods to you guys as you come in and raises his mug and says, "Well, looks like the company's improved, lads. We have a lady in the house."
Here will kind of chuckle at that.
Yeah, they make room at the bar for you guys to come up, and he says, "Oh, give me just a few moments, finish my story here, and then I'm sure these lads will enjoy a round on me while I chat."
Tell all the stories you want. Here will kind of smile. Don't want to interrupt your good time.
And they
We definitely do want.
he finishes up a story, um, and it's basically a modernized variation of um, some of the traditional events of Odin's life.
Okay.
After he finishes up, he looks to you guys and looks to the group, and he says, "Well, lads, I did promise a round on me, so why don't you gents all help yourselves, and we're gonna chat with these fine folks here." The barkeep looks and says, "This one going on the tab, or are you gonna pay your debt?" And the wanderer looks and says, "Ain't you been listening to my tales? I always pay the debts." Then the bartender kind of grins at him a little bit, and he starts sending everyone else rounds, and he motions for you, and he says, "Got myself a private booth in the back. Why don't we talk back there?"
Sounds good.
All right.
He feeds you back and says, "Need food, drink?" No, don't be shy. I don't want to be the only one. And he waves to the bartender, and she brings over just this huge steak. And he sets it down. He says, in front of him, he says, "So the problem is, come in, gotta drink the beer, you gotta eat the food. But I only drink red wine, so it's all a sham. Someone might as well enjoy this cooking. Can I get either of you something?"
Bosco. Sorry, I missed it. Was this the Wanderer asking us or the bartender?
The Wanderer.
The Wanderer.
The Wanderer.
So I will have all of the bacon and eggs he has.
She,
I'll have a beer. She's like, oh, Jeebus.
the barkeep will, or the like waitress nods and says, "We'll be right back with a large order of breakfast."
Bosco will stop him. I feared you may have misheard me. What I think you heard
And then
was,
just a sad a beer.
what I think you heard was a lot of bacon and eggs. But what I said was, I will have all of the bacon and eggs that you have.
She nods and says, "I'll get the cook on it."
Thank you.
Just kind of like, yeah, and I'll just take a very large beer, liquid diet. She kind of like glances at Bosco, like, Jeebus.
I'm
Never
very
seen
like spend a lot of energy. I must get protein.
That's fair.
Yeah. As you guys are waiting for your food, he says, "No, what exactly can I do for you fine folks? But I don't think you came here for the beer." And then he looks at Bosco, he says, "You might have came for the bacon. But nobody comes here for the beer. I don't even drink it, and I don't come here for the beer."
Oh, that being said, she looks over at Bosco. Don't tell Colin.
Bosco will nod. He gets very jealous, doesn't he?
Unnecessarily so.
Out of character, I don't remember. Was Colin at the fight?
He was.
And the Wanderer looks and says, "Is that the Irishman?"
Yes.
This swill is still better than his beer. Even if I drank beer, I would not drink his beer.
Well. If you wish to tell him that at some point, that's your prerogative, but I'll leave it to you.
Well, I'm sure I will.
He'll take it
Yeah.
much better.
He makes weak horse piss beer. Thinks because he drinks lots of it, he's somehow big and tough.
Air is actually laughing at that.
I-
He can't even handle that.
Anyone can drink lots of water.
Yeah, he sometimes has a difficult time with that to ask the billboard by his bar. Uh,
He just kind of looks at you and says, "Oh, is there anything specific you wish to talk about? Or should we wait for bacon?"
I think he's the one waiting on bacon.
The
Prefer to get
barkeep,
down to business before or after bacon, Bosco.
the barkeep does come back with the bacon.
Bosco nods and
It
starts
is.
digging in.
It's like one of those large, like oval platters,
Yeah,
just piled with bacon.
excellent.
And then she has a second plate full of eggs, and she says, "You did not specify how you wanted them, so the cook took liberties."
This is fun. Thank you very much.
And there's literally, it's like fried eggs on the bottom. There's scrambled eggs. There's poached eggs on top.
Excellent. Bosco
He's
just
got a
starts.
variety of egg styles, in other words.
Correct.
Uh, well, Bosco and I here had been contemplating a few things in regards to, well, spirits, much like yourself.
He looks at you and says, "There are no spirits much like myself."
Fair enough. You're all your own individuals. Uh, and well, we were given an out per se by the spirit that we are currently under, and we both were thinking that we may take it, but provided well, we want to learn more about what you're about, and after our encounter at the frozen forest. And I mean, quite frankly, you were a choice prior anyway, but for me, I can't speak for anybody else. But uh, having you as a totem was definitely something I thought of highly prior to all of this. So it was, well, needless to say, it felt like a perfect opportunity to try.
He looks and says, "Well, I suppose you have fair questions. So the question is where to best begin. Hey, Luxing says, and before either of you two smartasses says the beginning, let me explain why it's not that simple.
Here, we'll take a drink of her beer and
Also,
wait
just
for him.
continues working down bacon and eggs.
It is uncertain whether I was some sort of nature spirit prior to becoming this, or if indeed I was a spirit solely drawn into being through belief. I tend to lean towards the latter. It is most likely that I was in fact a spirit of conflict and the wilds that was simply identified with by men, who then gave me a name and shaped that identity further. I remember the stories attributed to me. I remember them as if I did them, but I do not remember doing them. I did not experience this in a conscious present state. It was as if they happened to me before I was self-aware, but when I became aware, I could remember them.
Hmm. So you were before you were, but you don't, and you remember what you were before you were. Is that making any sense? It makes sense in my head.
I do not remember coming into being as the Odin. I remember soaring over the earth,
Right.
looking through the eyes of ravens. And I remember looking upon mankind and considering them, and whether I might aid them, whether we had things to offer one another. And when I met them, they called me Odin, or variations of it. Mortal languages are not finicky, are not accurate, and are often finicky and diverse. And they told me stories of how Odin, in his wisdom, in his quest for wisdom, gave his eye from his human body as part of a bargain. And when they told me this, I remembered being in a human body and giving an eye, but I had never been in a human body. They told me how I made oaths, forged agreements with other spirits, beings they referred to as gods, some of them foolish. They told me the story of my agreement with the Loki, making him as blood brother. I knew that the spirit Loki and I were bound together by honor, but I do not remember making this binding. They told me tales of the Odin leading the charge, going to war against dark and cold spirits, these beings from other realms. And I knew the way to those realms then, and I remembered the fights, but I had never fought in such fashion. But as they told me these things, it was as if they were helping me to remember things I had forgotten or not been awake for. These tales resonated with the core of my being. Whether they reshaped it or shaped it back to what it once was, I do not know. Wisdom and war are key to most of these tales. Indeed, generally, if I'm not pursuing one, I'm pursuing the other. But above all came honor. Being true to oneself. An oath sworn even to an enemy is an oath. Breaking an oath to an enemy doesn't harm your enemy, it harms you. Those who put their faith in me know this. There's a reason even the great Loki, who will one day bring about Ragnarok and the fall of us, is still welcome in my mead hall, because that was the oath made. There's a reason Tyr is most honored by me, because he entered an oath knowing the cost.
Air kind of half smiles.
There's also a reason many of my followers tend to be reserved. Even a boast, if made in haste, can be a binding oath. If you swear to accomplish something, you've made an oath to do it. Such boasts and brags should not be taken lightly.
Air will nod.
The importance of knowing when to fight and how to fight, when to speak, to swear an oath, and when to keep silent. when to keep an oath, and when to hold it for another day. There's not enough to just beat your enemies. You must do so with wisdom. Any rabid wolf can tear apart his prey given enough time and effort. The wise man hems in his prey, trusts in his allies, and makes sure that his strike is the most effective with the least necessary effort.
Also, manages to work down a mouthful of bacon uh, before looking at the uh, why why do you find yourself compelled to be here to tell your stories to random people? Is it a way to gain, or is it just a way for you to pass the time?
He gestures and says, I do not know if I am compelled. I do know that this place speaks to me. The people within it, through their deeds, call to me. Indeed, I slumbered, barely touching this world, for a long time. The recent resurgence, as people utter my name not in jest or mockery, but in true homage, began my stirring, and the faith in my tales, as one sought to walk the same path I had taken, is what woke me fully. And I awoke to find that those few grew closest to what I was, those who still were tied to what I had been. The old tribes and the old ways. Those Guru did not remember. They were without honor. They broke oaths. They brought shame and chaos upon themselves and those around them. Some of them did these generations ago. Some do it yet today. So I seek out those who are worthy, those who do embody wisdom, honor, and war. Those who are not afraid to bring the full rage of the berserker upon their enemies.
And how many have you found that are worthy? And
Well, there are degrees of success, of worthiness. He gestures to the bar. He says, "These men here are a brotherhood. Through their actions, through their bonds, there is honor in that, a oath of sorts, unspoken perhaps. Then there are the men downstairs who fight, who even, as a form of exercise, engage in brutal brawls. Other times, there are those who seek wisdom, who study the old ways. They are worthy in their own way. Among your kind, I have found some that I have extended the offer to, but I've found none that have been willing to offer the commitment, a form of oath in itself.
what do you require of those who follow?
He looks at you and says, something that is perhaps seemingly very little, but also very heavy. Those who follow me must keep their word, even to an enemy. Promise someone safe passage and find out later they are of the enemy, you still made the promise. Additionally, the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom comes with costs. Those costs, those prices agreed upon are oaths in and of themselves. To try to gain wisdom through deceit in order to avoid a cost is shameful. That is not to say there is not a time for prudence or discretion. but attempting to manipulate someone in an effort to avoid paying a debt is disgraceful.
And Bosco is kind of fed to his bacon and eggs. And looks at Air to see if she has any personal styles.
Errol kind of nod because it sounds like everything she was expecting from the up and get go. She didn't want to make assumptions. Curiosity does have me wondering, stories considered. Don't take this the wrong way. How do you feel about Fenris?
He looks and says, the spirit himself is a great spirit of sorts. Among my mortal followers, he is known. Fear is a form of respect. And in his own way, he has never reneged on any agreements nor bargains. In fact, he has ensured that others are held accountable to them. Tyr can attest to that. He demands a level of honor among his own followers and encourages his tribe to engage in open war and glorious combat. These are all merits I can appreciate.
Air looks pleased at hearing that. I have to ask, as you've known, as I'm sure you know, being as I'm one of his, wouldn't want a potential conflict of interest there.
Understandable. There is, to a certain degree, always going to be some inherent tension simply through difference of belief. I do not expect to always be on the same page with any spirit.
Correct.
However, there are very few tribes whose totems I cannot see eye to eye with on at least some manner somewhere.
And which would you say are most conflicting for you to deal with, as it were?
I have seen some tension with the children of Grandfather Thunder, perhaps because there were those among his tribe that worshipped opposing spirits. Some of their methods are also fundamentally in opposition to me. The children of Rat tend not to do well either.
Well, interesting. Any others?
There are always individuals from any tribe that do not mesh, but on the whole, those are the ones that I differ the most fundamentally with.
We all have individuals that we disagree with or don't get along with. Uh, we Brew at the frozen forest. What had you sticking around their sept when we met you?
Well, as I said, just as those beneath draw me to them through their violence in their pursuit of war, so too is that sept filled with violence and war. But there is less honor and too many oaths that are not maintained. However, it is good too to stay close to oath breakers, that you may ensure they get their just punishment.
Hair nods. I'm not sure what oaths they've broken, but I know that the sept that they continue to hold was a result of a broken oath.
He nods and says, "Indeed."
Um, Oath actually broken by one of my ancestors, and it's something I've actively been looking into trying to fix, specifically with the with those they took it from. I just need to find the right path to do it.
So, trying to remedy an oath is admirable, but it is important to remember as well that oaths by other people are not your oaths. And just as important to remember when you swear an oath that you do not inadvertently expect others to be bound by them.
Of course. Yeah, we'll kind of take another drink off of her beer and see if Bosco has anything he wants to say while he stuffs his face with bacon and eggs.
He's approximately 3/4 of the way through both plates at this point.
Air actually looks pretty impressed as she looks over at him and like, oh my, oh.
He'll finish up like what he's currently working on, bacon and egg wise, and look at Odin and say, I find myself looking for someone to follow, for a daughter to follow, and I'm not sure which one I should follow just yet, which one I would be fit for. I was curious. I chose to follow you. Would you accept me?
He looks at you and says, it seems that you have striven to keep your oaths, even when you do not necessarily agree with the outcome. That is an admirable trait. Your capacity for war is not even a question, and your wisdom of when and how to fight seems to be admirable. I do believe that you have a mindset and a skill set that would make us a good relationship. It is important not only that those who follow a spirit meet what the spirit requires, however, but also that the Spirit offers what they require. Does no good to enter into a relationship if it is one-sided.
Bosco nods and continues working on the 2 plates of bacon in it.
Air's kind of sitting there, drinking her beer, pondering how she wants to proceed here.
Fenris is mad.
I don't know what has its panties and twists, but something does. Okay, hold on a second. I had mentioned to those who I currently run with that I was planning on coming to speak with you and let them know where I stand on the matter, because I wasn't going to hide it from them.
He looks at you and says, "This seems wise, given allies are those we have made oaths to."
Indeed. Um, yeah. Have some decisions of my own to make, provided
He nods and says, "As do we all.
provided
Every decision. None are easy."
No, but I knew it was coming. Kind of glances at Bosco with a faint smile.
Also continues working on his bacon and eggs. He's pretty much asked all that he wanted and needed to ask.
Repeat that. I heard you say he's finishing eating, working on his bacon and eggs, and that's all I could hear.
Oh, he's pretty much asked everything he wanted or needed to ask.
All right. Fairly certain I know how I'm going to decide here, but conversations need to be had first. If you'll have me, of course. I should not assume that you will.
He nods and says, "There's no reason I would not."
She will nod and proceed into drinking her beer. I think said I think she's pretty much decided she's got to talk to the others. She's got to talk to her pack actually face to face.
Yeah, as you guys continue to drink, he says, "This is not something that must be decided this moment. Indeed, pledging oneself to one another is an oath in and of itself. It would be hypocritical at best if I were to expect you to enter into an oath without time to consider, after we just had a discussion on wisdom and knowing when to act."
Correct.
And Bosco will nod, having finally finished the bacon and eggs. He'll start putting his dishes in a small pile and kind of cleaning up whatever mess he made. Before looking at Odin and saying, I suppose that this is a good time to end this conversation. I expect that we will be back and tell you what we decide one way or another. No? I'll look at Air.
We will indeed be back one way or another. Thank you for taking the time to sit down and speak with us and taking time out of your own fun.
He nods and says, "There's always time to discuss the matters of the worlds. Too many get lost in the moment and forget about the importance of the deeper truths."
Yes.
Um, Bosco will uh, call over the lady who served them, pay off what he owes, and also pay off what Odin owes. He has resources for, and I think he can afford that.
She,
Yes.
yeah, and you'll be able to afford it. That's not a problem. And he looks at you and says, "That is a generous gift."
Mm. Payment for services rendered. You have taken the time to talk to us and give us advice and answer our questions. It is the least I can do.
He nods again and says, "Much appreciated." And then he reaches into his like the pocket of his hoodie and he pulls out a curling ram's horn and sets it down. And he says, "Should you feel the need to call upon me in such a time when you cannot make the journey and our conversation must be immediate, sound this horn."
Bosco will nod. Take it. I just kind of carry it around. It look really weird, but it's fine. Just walking around with a fucking ram horn.
I mean, it fit in his like
Big-
front hoodie
big
pocket,
drinking
so
horn.
it's
Somebody may just mistake it as a drinking horn, dude.
It's fine.
If they're not looking closely enough. Yes, and Air will give Odin a polite and respectful nod before they do their thing here.
all right. You guys are heading out then?
Suppose so.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you guys just head out of the bar, and it's a typical biker bar on the outside on the material world too. And you guys can hail a cab or walk or whatever you guys wish to do, but you're kind of dead center of the city.
Okay. Well, they already have been told that they kind of shouldn't be alone, so.
And if you guys wish to roll a perception or a wits and umbra lore or spirit lore, you are welcome to.
What is the difficulty on that?
Yeah,
It will be a standard
that as soon as
difficulty.
my sheet comes up.
I got one success. Yeah, mine was spirit lore as well.
I'm gonna roll mine as a spirit lore. They're the same. Wits, umbra lore, wits, spirit lore, the same rating for me. So.
I should get more spirit lore, maybe a bit of umbra lore.
Oh, look, we're both magical with our epic
Oh,
ones.
hell yeah.
With one success each, you would know that your the gauntlet inside that building had been 4, which is not typical in the city.
Right, it's more typical of a Karen. Basic great spiritual power. Because we didn't feel a bond of anything, so we know it's not a Karen, but it's definitely a place of great spiritual power.
Well, it seemed very easy in there.
Yes. Yes, it does. Can we try to roll something to figure out what it was? Exactly, or is it just a easier spot to traverse in the Umbra?
At this point, with the information you have, probably not.
Okay. Fair enough. She'll kind of glance at Bosco. Well, yes, it's definitely not as strong as other places.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not mean to mute you. I was trying to make you a little louder because I couldn't hear you and I hit the wrong button. Oh no. Oh,
And it won't let me unmute.
I fuck up everything. I think I fucked up everything.
All right, there we go. I got it.
Sorry.
Okay. So, I heard you say that you muted me, and then I thought you unmuted me, so I started talking.
Oh, I was trying it, wouldn't let me.
then I realized you didn't unmute me, so it's like, oh, I have to do it myself. Okay. She's like, yeah, so it definitely doesn't seem as I forgot my exact phrasing. It's easier to pass here than in other places. But we should probably decide how we're getting home from here. She kind of like glances around. I think right here is safe, but once we get further through, we might encounter some unfriendlies, if you catch my drift.
No. Mm. Oscar pulls out his phone. He's just gonna get an Uber. The two of them. He's got fuck you money. He'll set the end destination a little ways away from the set, like close enough they'll be able to make it on foot safely, but far enough that the guy won't be able to see the set, obviously.
Right.
All right. The ride home is relatively smooth, other than the fact that the Uber driver seems to like listening to polka the whole way.
Air is glancing over at Bosco like in silent horror.
Is it also like a really tiny car because Bosco has huge size?
So
Not real tiny, but it is a European car, so it's not big either.
Fair enough. Bosco is just kind of, he's not like super cramped, but he's having to lean down a little bit to fit in the back seat. And Air's probably seen the look of discomfort and slight annoyance on his face many a time.
yeah, like I said, Air's looking at him in silent horror as the polka music is playing.
But you will get.
She doesn't even care that he probably has most of the space. She doesn't need that much. It's the polka music. It's not a cab, so I'm not going to ask if the driver smells like cheeseburgers.
And you guys get where you're going, though, otherwise relatively smoothly.
she looks at Bosco. Might want to give that a guy a review for shitty music. An itty bitty space.
Alright, so sure. Anything else that you guys want to get done?
Not that I can think of.
I think that.
Alright. Well, then we will wrap it up there. This has been a side scene for Werewolf or Nightfall in Amsterdam. Thank you, players, for playing, watchers for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.